Good evening, miss.
Good evening, sir. Are you interested in a miraculous cure for this unknown and deadly epidemic?
Actually, I am.
Then you have come to the right place. The famous Swanborough cordial is all you need to help keep you in perfect health.
Oh, really? Why didn't I hear about it during my studies? I'm Jonathan Reid, by the way. Dr. Jonathan Reid.
Ah, my brother has spoken of your research, sir. I'm Loretta Swanborough, and it's always a pleasure to meet a fellow healer.
Oh. Das ist die Schwester von unserem lieben Doktor. Interessant.
Tell me, who intrigues you most in Whitechapel?
The region itself is something to see, but I would say Camellia the mute florist who gives away her flowers.
What do you think of the locals?
Most of them are afraid or desperate. They all come to me eventually for my remedy.
Is there anyone I should avoid?
Cadogan Bates, without a doubt. The bloody bastard remorselessly exploits poor migrants as soon as they get here.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like to talk about competition.
Competition, you say?
Never met her, but it seems she provides some sort of medical care to the poor. The whole thing has to be some sort of scam, if you ask me.
I'd like to see what kind of medicine you're selling.
40, so viel haben wir noch gar nicht, ne? 20 Euro mit so. Entscheidend ist Jane losgelaufen mit den wahren Szenen. Ja, wahrscheinlich. Gestern auch angefangen, einen zu zeichnen als Emoji. Damit wir dann hier auch noch einen
When
haben.
science fails you, this elixir will give you faith again.
Erstmal als gediegener Mann, der das betuchteren und besseren Ecke im Müll rumwühlt. Ja, ich muss mal gucken, dass es nicht so sehr aussieht wie das Original, wo ich mich ein bisschen anlehne am Emoji. Aber mal gucken. Guck mal, Mülltonne. Das ist wie Stardew Valley, das Spiel. Mülltonne rumwühlen. Na gut. Lass mal gucken, ob wir jetzt herausfinden, wer der Erpresser ist.
What do you want? Leave me alone.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reid. I'm looking for Nurse Dorothy Crane.
There is no Dorothy Crane here. Now goodbye.
I'm afraid this medical leaflet says the opposite, sir.
Really? Well, I'm afraid I'm going to close this door right now. Go bother someone else, Mr. Doctor.
To enter that house, I must discover who this man really is. Maybe I could start by observing what he's up to.
In dem Hinweise darauf, was der Gute vorhat. Darius Petrescu. Oder Petrescu. Beide Daumen fürs Zeichnen.
I will return later.
Sie hat ja die Rohzeichnung gestern schon gesehen, die ich ihr zugeschickt hatte, um zu testen, was ausreicht. Viel Spaß im Glück, lieber Adrian. Wir hatten ja gerade eben dieses komische Augenzeichen. Wieso kann ich mich nicht zum Beispiel auf diesen Balkon da oben hochporten? Oder da hochporten? Denn theoretisch müsste das hier gehen. Wird es ja auch eigentlich Tag?
It's locked, all right.
Ja, ist ja gut, Jonathan, ist ja gut. Rückfüll in der Lampe.
There's nobody here.
Ach, der ist gar nicht mehr da. Die Ecke, wo ich hin wollte? Nein, überhaupt nicht. Wieder zurück, also rechts, rechts. Dann müsste ich ja eigentlich in dem...
A strange man was at the door with a pass for our medical facility. I refused him entry.
Darius, how could you know he didn't need our help?
His clothes were too finely tailored to be from Whitechapel.
Perhaps just a friend of that stray poet who is always about.
Ja.
Richard Nethercott? No, not of the same cloth, this man. I suspect some machination from that journalist.
Clayton Darby. Is he still asking questions?
Yes. I saw him drifting around St. Mary's Church. I swear he is tracking me just downwind.
Ah, der Gute hat eine Bronchitis. Okay.
I must talk to that journalist or the poet. They must know about Darius. Nearby the church they just mentioned.
Okay.
Its effectiveness has been proven by many.
Silver
Even
cut
the
clothing.
flu is no match for the Swanborough cordial.
Ja, das war Idee, mit dem rumzurennen, zu gucken, was man hier noch so findet. Ne? Oh. Das Erste, was wir machen, wenn man eine Leiche sieht, ist natürlich zu looten. Und sich nicht zu wundern, warum hier jemand Totes liegt. Aber nur gut. Kleinigkeiten, ne? Da will man sich ja nicht aufhalten. Jetzt ist als Librarier gar nicht da, dabei ist fast ihr Name hier in diesem Spiel verewigt. Aber auch nur fast.
Excuse me, sir. I have a few questions for you.
Another journalist? I didn't answer the first one, so piss off!
I'm not a journalist, I'm a doctor.
A doctor, you say? It's quite a rare breed in this part of town.
Really? But still, here I am. Dr. Jonathan Reid, at your service.
I'm Joe Peterson to some, but Colossus Joe to most. And I don't remember asking for your service, sir.
May I ask what you do around here?
I do whatever I want, and sometimes even more. Now sod off.
Ja, erstmal haben wir noch mehr Fragen.
According to you, physicians are scarce in this part of town. Why is that?
Not familiar with this neighborhood, are you? I guess your fancy colleagues are too afraid of being stabbed in the back.
This part of town does have quite a reputation. Would you say it's justified?
Totally. Look at me, for instance. I always look my opponent in the eye before knocking him out.
Mensch, das ist ein... netter Mensch, würde ich sagen.
Have you heard of a nurse named Dorothy Crane? She's a colleague of mine and is supposed to live around here.
Dorothy Crane? Yeah, I know her. One of the few good souls who dare to help the sick around here.
Could you please tell me more about her?
She's a nice girl. Tries to help the migrants. I offered to give her a hand, but she said my reputation would attract too much attention.
Naja, aber... So, der hat also...
Can I offer you my medical expertise, Mr. Peterson?
The name is Colossus Joe. I don't get sick.
Na gut. Dann haben wir jetzt ja alles, ne? Das hatten wir jetzt mal... Ja.
Goodbye, Mr. Peterson.
Da haben wir wieder so einen netten... Ist so nett? Und der ist tatsächlich nett. Also, bis jetzt.
Excuse me, sir. Are you familiar with this part of town? Name's Clayton Darby, reporter.
Sorry, I'm new to Whitechapel. But perhaps you could help me since you're a journalist. My name is Jonathan Reid.
Dr. Reid, the famous surgeon. I'll gladly help if I'm able, sir.
Ha! Schön wie hier.
Have you any idea of the danger you face in these streets at night?
I've had to run and hide more than once from frenzied mobs incensed by the fever. Do you think the flu is really responsible for this, Doctor?
Es gibt für alles eine rationale Erklärung. Wir ignorieren mal ganz kurz, was wir sind, aber bestimmt für alles eine rationale andere
That
Erklärung.
science is unable to explain the facts doesn't mean there is no rational explanation.
I confess, I share your point of view, Doctor.
Why are the newspapers keeping silent about the Spanish influenza? It's as though none of you care.
There's a war going on. People shouldn't be demoralized by news of deadly diseases.
Ja Mensch, wie ähnlich das gerade für heute ist. So. Das ist eine Schande.
It's a disgrace. People are left to die alone. No one is properly informed of the risks.
These are bad times indeed. So much for the glorious British Empire.
What is a journalist doing in this borough after sunset?
He goes where none of his colleagues would dare to go, to inform the country.
That's quite honorable of you. But is the public interested?
Not at all, sir. And that's why I'm an independent journalist, hoping to sell some stories.
So you risk your life to reveal the truth. I saw many reporters do the same during the war.
Whitechapel is the crucible of so many untold stories and tragedies. I want people to know them.
Reiten will, dass die Zeitung die Wahrheit über die Situation im Whitechapel drucken. Das ist an sich erst einmal, würde ich sagen, ein gutes Ziel, ne? Mal gucken, vielleicht kriegen wir es ja auch hin. Was hat er denn? Erschöpfung? Oh, wir haben doch bestimmt was gegen Erschöpfung dabei. Das haben wir. Persönliche Fragen? Hinweise benötigt.
I heard you're investigating an underground medical dispensary in Whitechapel. What do you know about it?
Not much, I'm afraid. They are wary of strangers, and I'm not really an acquaintance of theirs. Why do you care?
Das ist Vertrauen. Interessierung fürs Gesundheitswesen. Ja, nachts.
It's confidential. Speaking as a doctor, I'm sure you understand.
Are you sure you're not just concerned about the repercussions that a scandal involving a certain Nurse Crane from the Pembroke Hospital would bring?
Without a doubt, you are a damn fine journalist, Mr. Darby. What do you know of her accomplice, a man named Darius?
I don't know much about the man. He's very cautious, never goes out, doesn't seem to have any friends or family.
He has no relatives at all?
No, except for that strange man, a poet named Richard Nethercott, who sometimes comes by. Darius would never let him in.
Where can I find this Mr. Nethercott?
He spends most of his time lurking around Whitechapel, talking to himself or declaring verses. These days, you can usually find him behind the church.
He never goes out?
No. A few days ago, he unexpectedly did. I followed him, but it was just a ruse to keep me away from his house.
Really? How do you know?
He went to the nearest mailbox, but just before posting his letter, he ripped it up and threw it away.
Oh, interessant. Hat er den eingesammelt?
Do you need assistance?
That would be nice of you, Doctor. Who knows what I may have caught during my investigation.
If you persist in investigating the most pox-ridden boroughs of London, you must accept the risks.
Thank you, sir.
Ma.
Goodbye,
Gut, wie
Mr.
wieder-
Darby. Farewell. Forgive my interruption.
Do
Und
not
das Hell
apologize,
draußen.
my son. Father Tobias Whitaker is always happy to teach mortals about the incoming Armageddon.
I am Dr. Jonathan Reid, and I just have a few questions.
A scientist?
I have heard enough for tonight. Goodbye.
Wird das heller draußen oder täuscht mich das nur? Weil ich das an der Lampe, das könnte ich an der Lampe gerade liegen. Ne?
Good evening, Mr. Whitaker.
It's Father Whitaker, my son. So, are you still lost in your rational delusions?
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences, and most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
Well, I suppose I can spare a few minutes listening to your so-called truth.
As a doctor, you must be aware of the decimating epidemic. But let me tell you that this so-called Spanish flu is just the beginning of the end.
What do you mean?
The beast is finally revealing itself, corrupting the flesh and the heart of men. With my own eyes I have seen them, those minions from the abyss.
Really? And what would be your answer to this biblical threat?
We must fight the disease before this legion outnumbers us. But not with scalpels and microscopes. No.
What is left then?
Cleansing fire.
Ja, ne? Ja, na,
Tell me, Tobias, what exactly is your plan concerning the cleansing of this city?
God will recognize his own. More than once this city has risen from the ashes, hardened and purified by the flames.
Wir leben im 20. Jahrhundert. Wissenschaft ist in 20. Hoffnung. Dort, nach wo ziehen die Grenze?
Purification by fire has proved useful, but where do you stop? Burn the clothes? The buildings? The corpses? Worse?
Your lack of faith is predictable. But my task is to convince rational minds like yours to see the light. This is God's will.
You're mad and dangerous. You're nothing but a soulless butcher. A small-time Torquemada. The Savonarola of Whitechapel.
My son, if you think salvation is a free gift, go listen to the lies of that pompous fool, Joseph.
Joseph, a fool?
Vicar Larrabee of St. Mary's Church. While he continues preaching his fraudulent redemption, more and more people die in the streets.
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences, and most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
I am. But the answers I seek are based on facts, not superstition.
Na gut. Sind wir verwandt?
Have you any friends? Any family left in these terrible times?
No. But I have a disciple I see as my son. He is so devoted. I sent him to preach the good word in the heart of this corrupted city.
Where did you send him?
I sent Samuel to the Stonebridge Cemetery, where the pestilence and evil grows night after night.
Der heilige Kreuzzug.
You sent him on some preaching crusade during the epidemic.
As a true believer, Samuel will fear no evil while he walks through the valley of the shadow of death.
Ach, das sind immer so.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital. I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like the liberal ideas of nurses, but I especially abhor that Nurse Crane you mentioned.
So, you're not exactly a fan of Florence Nightingale's work. But nurses are essential for modern healthcare.
Nuns should be the only women allowed to take care of male patients. It's obvious only they have the necessary moral fiber.
Weißt du, damit sie die verwundeten Männer nicht überfallen und Dinge tun.
Why do you hate Nurse Crane more than other nurses?
Before coming to London, she was a member of the communist resistance in our country. That's what happens when you let a woman get involved in politics.
Tell me, Tobias.
God will
Purification.
You're like
You're mad.
my
Joseph.
Vicar
Das haben wir schon? Okay, nee.
Don't you fear getting sick yourself?
I've been touched by God's grace. I am perfectly healthy.
Ja gut. Das ist mir auch ganz lieb. Oh, Mann, das Blut.
I have heard enough for tonight. Goodbye.
An einem Pastor-Priester rumknabbern. Können wir eigentlich in die Kirche rein? Wahrscheinlich nicht, oder? Schade.
You are blinded by your false faith. Imprisoned by your naivety.
Oh, hier ist ja unserer. Der wieder. Oh, ich höre Dinge. Ich sehe Blutspuren. Hallo, mein Guter. Oh, ich sehe nichts. So, haben wir das?